Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, my lovelies. This is Alicia. I am Barney Matahari, and I am here today with you again for another Pick a Card reading. Today, I am going to be asking Spirit and our guides, what energies are you being liberated from, emancipated from, and how and why, and the energy surrounding that. So we've got 3 piles today. Pile number 1 is Swati, the nakshatra in Libra. Pile number 2 is Uttara Falguni, and that is the nakshatra that goes from Leo into Virgo. And we've got Uttara Ashada, and that is the nakshatra that goes from Sagittarius into Capricorn. So take a moment, pause if you wish, and decide which pile is for you. And I am going to get started with pile number 1. So, Swati. The self-going star, the independent one. I'm just going to pop your number 1 over here so that we can see it stand out beside your beautiful candle. And we have got from the Sacred Geometry Activations deck for you also the third eye chakra. So the third eye chakra, the frequency of the third eye, the indigo flower of life, supports our intuition and our knowing, our imagination, and our psychic powers. So what I'm feeling for you, pile number 1, is an upgrade. And I'm not even seeing it like, in a video game where you go from kind of one level to another level. I'm seeing this as being like you have just graduated from, kind of Pac-Man to some really, really immense, complex video game. So you're just in a different arena altogether. You're not in the same arena anymore. And that actually is really being echoed very strongly with these two cards. So Swati is the independent one. So it's giving vibes of, leaving things behind. It's also, Swati is also, it's in Rahu. So it's Rahu energy in Venus. And Venus is all about values and artistry. Like I'm hearing, technicality versus art and heart. So if you don't put your heart into something, you can be as technically proficient, but it's not going to land. It's not going to ground, not only in your life, but with your audience. And when I'm saying audience, I'm talking like, let's say you're literally a performance artist, or you have, think about like AI music versus something where somebody is singing from the soul, or somebody is playing a musical instrument and it's like very technically proficient, but the heart is missing. And I feel like that's really, like you've learned how to really fuse the technical and integrate the heart with the technicality of it, with the precision of it. You're walking by faith and not by sight. So I'm getting that also from the intuition card. And if you think about it, intuition is the chakra that the third eye chakra is the chakra that comes after the throat chakra. So your foundation is that of truth. The throat chakra also rules over confidence and communication. And it is the first chakra of the ether chakras. So you're in a different arena, and I think this lifetime, wherever you're at on your own timeline, whatever age you're at, whatever stage in life you're at, whatever path you've chosen, you have reached some level of culmination in whatever you're leaving behind and moving into in the next phase of life. And I'm seeing you kind of, intuition is really strongly associated with the moon. So I'm seeing somebody under the stars, under the moonlight, just perceiving, just feeling the energies, and on a bridge. So you're kind of in that transitionary period. And if you think about Rahu is your destiny. Rahu is, and whatever stage you're at in life, I don't want to, because, we have this idea that maybe, we have Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and Ashwini is the first, I believe it's Ashwini, yeah, is the first nakshatra. But it's not a linear process, it's cycles. So you're working with these energies in the cycle that you're in. So cycles within cycles. I'm hearing a phrase, cycles within cycles. And if you think about it, if you're on a tarot channel, you probably do believe in incarnation and reincarnation and all that beautiful stuff. So you're at a culmination point of a certain level of cycles. So with independence, the power to scatter like the wind is the Shakti power of Swati. But if you think about what wind is air. And what is air? Air is breath. And breath, I'm thinking pranayama. So I think pranayama practices, breathing practices could be very, very, very activating and potent for you. You might be and the example that's coming to mind right now actually is maybe you are at the stage where you've been practicing, some form of yoga in many, many lifetimes. And this is just an example. Some form of yoga in many, many lifetimes, but you're at the stage now where you're actually fruiting some city powers. And as a society, society is not the right word, but as a collective, the humanity is moving out of, and our galaxy, in concert with our galaxy, as part of, our place in the universe, our place in timelines, which again is not linear. It's harmonics, it's a dance, it's a pulsation. I'm hearing pulsation for this pile. So there's something that you've got in harmony with the pulsation of your purpose, of your destiny. And this is happening at the, I don't even want to say the cellular level because the cells are too big. It's like I'm seeing in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the movie, Mike TV, where they kind of shoot the laser at him and he disintegrates into all kind of what looks like television interference above, and then they put him back together, but he's really teeny tiny. So it feels very like that you're having a phase change, and you're obviously still walking and breathing. You're still in, you're still a luminous light being in a human. You're still a soul in a body, but how you're interacting and how you're vibrating has really changed at the fundamental level and alchemy. And with what I'm hearing is also you've really had mastery you've learned all the karmic lessons that you needed to learn for this to springboard into this next stage of your journey. So if you think about it, prana, and one of the reasons pranayama works so potently is because of the oxygen. Like when we send oxygen to the brain versus when we deprive oxygen from the brain, like just see the two different polarities for comparison. But if you think about it, water is H2O. Water is partly made up of oxygen too. And fire, of course, needs oxygen to burn. Without oxygen, the fire gets extinguished. So something about you is hyper oxygenated, and there's a lot of newer technologies now that are becoming, you have oxygen bars, and you have technologies where they pump, they have healing modalities where they pump oxygen into the body, not necessarily through the lungs, but I think even into the bloodstream to kind of cleanse things. I think you've done that on kind of an auric level. And what I was saying about the cellular level, not even at the cellular level, because cells, like the tiniest, the most basic particle that we have is light. So a photon. So not even electrons and protons, like down to your very essence. You've kind of alchemically disintegrated whatever these lessons are, and you've had a purification of yourself to the point where you're not so much carrying baggage of the past. You've been able to scatter like the wind. You've been able to individuate away from that which doesn't serve you. And what I mean by that is toxins, toxic patterns, thinking, groups, paradigms. I'm not saying that you're a perfect person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying relative to where you were, you've undergone this beautiful purification that's really, and this is how they're kind of showing it to me, or how my human mind is synthesizing it, and how I'm seeing it in pictures. But you're having this beautiful kind of like diffusion, where almost like evaporation, where a distillation, where you go from one energy to another energy. And that's what I'm seeing for you as being kind of the phase change. You really have to have that ability to transcend the Maya, to be able to really tap into those city powers, to be able to use your intuition effectively, to be able to work with the unseen, to really also understand, as above, so below, that you are a human incarnation. You are a soul in a body, and the body has needs to be nourished, and it also has powers, and it also is a technology. So I feel like no matter what walk of life you're in, like you could be a doctor, you could be a janitor, you could be an artist, but whatever it is that you're experiencing kind of on an inner level, this purification, this dedication to your destiny, to your purpose, even if you don't quite know what it looks like. And that's bringing me back to, you're walking by faith, not by sight. You do have an overarching objective of living the way, of walking with spirit, of following your intuition. But you have this knowingness in your being, in your aura, that's created this like incredibly sovereign, independent resilience to you, that you're not being knocked off your path. You're not being knocked away from spirit. You're not being tempted by lust, by short-term things, by quick rich schemes, that kind of thing. And in order to get to this place, you may have had to you would have had to have mastered some element of death energy, because in order to go from the south node towards your destiny, towards the north node, you're taking the lessons and the wisdom and the gifts that you have built up in past lives with you. but you also, every ending is just a new beginning. You have to have the wisdom to be able to leave things behind, to be able to you can't carry everything with you all the time, because that is not freedom. That's attachment. So you've mastered some level of attachment. I'm seeing kind of the Hierophant versus kind of maybe someone who embodies a role. For example, well, I'm the mom, so what I say goes. Or a cult leader who rules for thee, but not for me, kind of person. So you are in integrity with who you are. Know thyself, you know who you are. And I'm also getting very strong solar plexus energy from you. And that makes so much sense in order to go from, like, because you have to have that strength in who you are, and then it takes that strong solar plexus energy to kind of stand in truth and to keep the truth going no matter what is going on around you. So with the Swati energy, it's the sutra for Swati is the far-blowing wind needs to drift for imperfection. So there's that kind of also mastery of duality. Like I'm hearing Brené Brown wrote a book called The Gifts of Imperfection. So there's a point at which, like, every point on everything is divine. Every point on our journey is a legitimate point. But it's how do we show up to that? And I feel like you're showing up to that in integrity. In order to have intuition, you need to be able to deal in truth. You need to take care of the needs that your body, your mind, your emotionality, and your connection with the divine needs to have. And I feel like you're really kind of harmonized on a lot of that. You can have distance and independence. You can be independent and sovereign and also very connected. You know, you've learned that proximity is not intimacy, and intimacy is not proximity. So you've really had some lessons in learning how to get towards the understanding, going deeper. Even though Swati, again, is this, it could be perceived as more a little bit, away up in the clouds, airy fairy, but it's you have not that. You understand that in order to elevate, you had to go deep and ground. And I don't like that phrase ground because it's kind of meaningless, but you had to understand both the earthly and the higher realms, and also know that you're in a limited experience here on this planet. So you've moved from kind of this egoic desire to know all, to thinking that you're the smartest person in the room, and I'm not saying that you were ever that way, I'm just using those as examples, as energies that you've put down. You're acutely aware that you don't know everything and nobody can know everything, and that everything is divine, that we're all connected, we're all part of some incredible cosmic dance, and that divinity comes up through us all, and it's by going within and knowing ourselves that we connect to that. So with that, I'm going to pull some tarot for you, pile number 1. This is really beautiful energy. I'm feeling really strong, like sacred geometry for you. And I'm feeling a level of precision, relief, release, refreshment, like, and even if you think about the wind, you can have anything from kind of a warm breeze or a cool breeze to you know, a full gale force wind. But I'm getting a very, no matter what's going on, no matter what the weather is, I feel like that you're very, very well able to navigate that. And I feel like why you're whoops, that's too many. Why you're being emancipated from this at this time is because you've really learned how to integrate the lessons, the experiences that you've had. You came in with a soul purpose, and part of that was to walk, to really tap into your intuition, to walk. Oh wow, we've got the magician first out, pile number one. And that is just, if the magician in the traditional tarot, the magician has an altar and is surrounded by beautiful vegetation, and also has representatives of each of the elements on the altar. So there's this, you've learned how to really master the different elements, your emotions, your thoughts, your physical, and that includes your relationships and your ability to pay your bills, your ability to think for yourself, your ability to make decisions for yourself and decide who you want to be in the world. So we've got the Four of Coins here as well. You've got the Seven of Wands. So this, I don't want to say it's hard earned, but I'm hearing that song, It's a Hard Knock Life, from Annie. And remember we talked at the beginning, this is wild, that I saw somebody on a bridge in transition, like looking at the moon, looking at the stars. And this is echoing the intuition here. Oh my goodness. Love this card as well. We'll just cover her up a little bit here. You've got the Queen of Coins, so the Queen of Pentacles under the Magician. So you really have an ability to be abundant. And this is a beautiful story, this one particularly. It's from Australia. It's an Aboriginal tale. I forget what her name is, but it said that when the earth began, that this goddess came, that it was arid and dry, and the water serpent came, and you can see the water serpent here, and traveled with this goddess, and she gave birth to all the children in all the different lands. And that's why we have different countries with different languages, different peoples. And she told people where to be and what their purpose was in the beginning. I'm also seeing like the sun echoed here beside the moon as well. I'm getting very strong divine feminine from you, pile number one, which is interesting. It is Venus energy, so that does make a lot of sense. But also the didgeridoo, you'll see them in Australia. The didgeridoo is that instrument that sounds like really bass, that the Aboriginals have, and they often have this kind of this pattern on them, and I'm seeing crosses on them. So there's just a real acknowledgement that you have really understood how to bridge the gap between as above, so below, as within, so without. And of course the moon here is reflecting on the water, and that's part of the job of the moon, is to reflect the sun. That's part of the job of the feminine, is to reflect the masculine. So you've had some very painful endings, pile number one. Oh my gosh, you've got the sun and the moon and the Magician. Wow, this is just such beautiful energy, pile number one. You are, the Queen of Pentacles also, she's abundant. It's akin to, it's not the Empress, because the Empress is the worldly embody of all four elements, but you've got the Magician. So you've got the kind of the intuition as well as the worldly. And then you've got the Five of Wands. I remember I was hearing It's a Hard Knock Life, there was a lot. It's hard. I'm hearing the phrase hard won. So you have been through, I'm kind of surprised that the Nine of Wands didn't come out. You have worked incredibly hard with the Seven of Wands. You have not been born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You have not been gifted things. You have had to use your intuition. You have had to use your creativity. You have had to work for what you have gotten. But because you're so magical, because you're so abundant, because you're so strong in who you are, because you're willing to be reflective, because you're so connected to spirit, because you're so willing to just let the toxicity dissolve and to be carried away. You're so willing to not... The Five of Pentacles here, I'm actually really noticing, I don't know this story specifically, but what is really sticking out to me is this guy is green here, and he's fighting with four. So I feel like you've had to, and that echoes the Independent one. I'm nearly surprised actually that the Five of Swords didn't come out, because that tends to be, you've really earned your stripes. Spiritually and with yourself, with your own internal self-esteem, with your own confidence, with your own ability to move forward and stand in who you are and do your shadow work and to build what you believe in, and to really not allow other people stabbing you in the back and betrayal. And I'm seeing several betrayals having played out in your future. And the Vulture here tends to be like you out of the ashes. Like I'm getting Phoenix energy from this four of coins for you. And in the traditional tarot, it's like you see that the emperor, he looks like there's a guy sitting on a throne, so it's like Emperor Light, but he's got a pentacle, he's got two under his feet, he's got one, I think he's holding one against his heart, but this is not you. You've had to be protective because of all of the competition and betrayal, and still, you're the Magician, you're the sun, and you're the moon. So beautiful, so beautiful. I wouldn't be surprised if you're a starseed. We've got blue ray being. So we've got another number 1, 1 and 1. Direct divine expression. Bridge between dimensions. That's pretty much what I was talking about here. You're in a phase change. So you could be nearing one of your last incarnations as a human person. You could be Bodhisattva, to be honest. Oh my gosh. We have got radical purification, violet flame, surrendering, resurrection. You are, and we've got the purple iterated again, purple and gold, and they're colors of, they're very spiritual colors, and they're very royal colors. So I'm getting ascended masters. So you could be very supported and connected by ascended masters. The great karmic board. I'm trying to remember who it is. I think it's Portia. Portia, Lady Master Portia. She's on the karmic board, and she is the holder of the 6th ray, and her colors are purple and gold, and she is she talks about service. So I feel like you have really been of service to spirit in whatever experiences you have. Lemurian shaman, so beautiful, pile number 1. And look at you've got the butterfly here from transformation. You've got, again, we've got this image echoed of as above, so below. You really are like and I'm getting with the Aboriginal as well, you've got that idea of dream walking with shaman cultures. You've got that idea of dream space and dream walking. So I feel like if you're not already proficient in, like dream yoga, astral travel, that kind of thing, I feel like that would be very beneficial to you. And I feel like probably remote viewing, timeline jumping is something that you're literally, that's literally kind of another expression of what you're doing. But it's you've just literally mastered so much in this lifetime up until now, and you're going to places that your human mind can't even really conceive of at this time. So continue to do what you're doing, and maybe if you're not already spending time in nature, I feel like you're very, very connected to nature. And, play. I'm getting a really strong playful energy for you, pile number one. The other thing with Swati is it's one of those nakshatras that has the ability to cut karmic cords. You see you have the sword here. And in order to be able to move forward, we're talking about you've learned the power, but also you've learned the sacredness, the reverence in I want to say impeccable use of death energy, and impeccable use of the elements, or impeccable engagement. You're impeccable with your integrity in what you say and where it comes from. And that only comes from a really pure place. And you've done the work. That's why you're ascending to this degree. You're such a beautiful soul, pile number one. I just feel really, I feel just really safe in your energy. I am so, I know that you've been through a lot, and I feel like that your energy does that for people, because you know what it's like to not feel safe. You know what it's like to have people come against you. You know what it's like to be betrayed by the people who claim to be your friend. Your intuition is very, very strong. You've had to cut your teeth on a lot of deception, and you've had to walk by faith, not by sight. But you are surgical in your use of your power. You are not around here ramboing it. You're not in here just like bulldozing people out of your way. I'm hearing that there's a song, Revenge, although I have the power to bring all of you mother effers down. It's by Danger Mouse and Sparkle Horse and the Flaming Red Lips. It's called Revenge. Amazing, amazing song. You are so adept at using your pain to elevate and to be a light for others. I'm seeing, the star card in one of my other decks is a lighthouse, and I'm seeing you're being a lighthouse. And back in the day, the lighthouse was the thing that kept the ships from crashing into the rocks. So you, just by being you, embodying who you are and walking your path, no matter what you do in life, you are a lighthouse. You are, and I'm seeing this is reminding me of the star too. The Magician. You're incredibly powerful, but you use your powers for spirit, and for that reason you are trusted with them, and you don't need to have guardrails around you anymore. You can be trusted to be independent. You can be trusted to be free. You can be trusted to cut away from tradition. You're the rebel. You're not a rebel without a cause. You are the Hierophant. You are, I'm getting Lilith vibes from this also. So, and again, we're back to the divine feminine. Feminine is always dual. And Kali, of course, she is the other aspect of divine feminine. Parvati being the wife, and Kali being the demon slayer. And the demons that she's slaying are attachments. So if anything that I have said has resonated with you, pile number 1, I would be very honored and thrilled if you would like, comment, share, and or subscribe. And I hope to see you at another reading. And thank you for incarnating at this time, my beautiful pile number 1s. Bye. Okay, pile number 2, Uttara Falguni, the latter red one, and consciousness. Okay, so pile number 1, what energies are you being liberated from, emancipated from, and why? And maybe we'll get some advice. So we'll see what is happening and how are you being liberated. So immediately, Uttara Falguni, the star of patronage, and it means it's the power to accumulate wealth. And it is the symbol is the fruit bearer. So this is the fig tree, and it is going from Leo into Virgo, which is giving it Sun in Sun and Sun in Mercury energy, which is interesting because it's quite the feminine, the latter red one. It's quite the ideal woman is kind of I heard it described as kind of the life lesson of this, how to be the ideal woman. And it is kind of what you're leaving behind is kind of, again, attachment into genuine fruitage, serenity. You're moving through worldly, from kind of, you're moving from toxic positivity, let's say. You're moving from lip service. You're moving from being sold a story. You're moving from the trappings of wealth to the actual essence of wealth. And if you think about that phrase, health is wealth. So with Uttara Falguni, the sutra means, or is kind of loosely translated as the beautiful woman above the fruit giver needs strength and wealth to be fulfilled. So that's reminding me of the phrase. And the ideal woman, it's a trope. It's not saying that every woman has to be in let's say a marriage situation. If you extrapolate it out further from that kind of family situation, but let's zoom in and just start with a family situation, for example. So an ideal woman, and back in the day, the woman would go to her husband with a dowry, for example. So the ideal woman, the beautiful woman above, needs strength and wealth to be fulfilled. So in order to be able to bear fruit, the woman needs to be supported. She needs to have, wealth doesn't necessarily mean millions in the bank. Wealth means she needs to have abundance. She needs to have a rich support system, family around her, friendship around her, companionship around her. She needs to feel safe. Even if you think in the very, very rudimentary physiology of male versus female, in the, let's say in the boudoir, like the anatomy is that the man is penetrative, and is almost, there's very, very many sperm that finds one egg. So it's a different energy. There's a giver and a receiver. But in order to let someone, in order to be in receiving mode, one needs to be able to feel safe and to relax. That's the way I'm going to put it. So a nurtured wife, for example, versus someone who is kept on their toes, barefoot and pregnant. Now that is an example. I'm not saying that all women need to be in that situation. So just take it how it resonates. But you get the analogy that I'm trying to make. The Uttara Falguni also has the tendency sometimes to trust the wrong people. So that's when they can get into that stage where they're in survival mode rather than in being supported. And in order to be able to tell the difference, you need to have your consciousness online. You need to deal in truth. You need to be able to look beneath the surface. You need to know who you're talking to. Now, we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. So in order to be able to trust the right people in business, to trust the right person to marry, for example, to trust the right person to build a life with, no matter how you identify, we still have this need to balance those energies within ourselves. And when I say balance them, we need to have internal mastery over those types of energies within ourselves. We need to be able to make our own decisions, and we need to be able to have personal responsibility for the decisions that we make in our lives. So it's giving me kind of dependence and codependence into leadership, like self-leadership. That does not mean necessarily single. That does not mean necessarily that you can't be a stay-at-home mom. That does not mean man this, woman that. It doesn't mean any of those things. I'm talking about energies, which I'm sure if you're on a tarot channel, you have some appreciation for. And if you don't, it's something perhaps you might be called to look into, because we all have those. If you think about the chakras, like we have the first 4 chakras, which are the worldly chakras. We have the root chakra, which represents feminine energy. We have the sacral chakra, which represents feminine energy. It's the water chakra. We have the solar plexus, which is fire energy. That is a masculine energy. And we have the throat chakra, which is, we have the heart chakra, which is air energy. So those 4, they're worldly elements. And then we go into the ether chakra. So each one of us has those energies within us, irrespective of how we actually incarnated and what we choose to do in our lives. Anyway, lecture over. I'm sorry. So I'm also hearing the power of one, or not the power of one, the law of one. So the law of one operates in either service to self or service to others. So what Uttara Falguni kind of talks about is that in order for, I'm hearing happy wife, happy life. And again, the marriage thing is coming up as an example. But if you extrapolate it out beyond that, it's like when I'm happy in myself, when I'm able to fulfill my own needs, when I'm not in survival mode, I'm able to thrive. So it's that ability to be able to treat myself as an adult and to recognize in others that they are an adult too, and that the very, very basis of relationship is honoring the sovereignty of another person. So their ability to reject you, their ability to connect with you, you have to give people a choice if it's to be a true relationship. Otherwise, it's kind of, it's that victim, rescuer, persecutor, it's manipulation. It's like, well, I'll just, you put your best foot forward, obviously, because you're not going to just hang out all your dirty laundry. But within close quarters, behind closed doors, I need to be able to trust that when I tell you my secrets, my shame stories, that you're not going to go and blab it, whatever. There's a Brené Brown, I mentioned her in pile number 1 as well. Brené Brown has this little chat that she does on the internet. She was like, 5 people you should never share your shame stories to. And it's that difference between having somebody who is intimate, who you would trust, who you would call with your deepest, darkest secrets, that is going to honor them and would never, ever, ever weaponize them against you. You're not, it's foolish to share that stuff with the whole world, because that makes you a target, because the world is competitive and you can't form that level of connection with everyone. However, this is back to, why do we trust the wrong people? If we don't trust ourselves, and that's the first, I heard Diane von Furstenberg say this years ago, the most important relationship you ever have is with yourself. And that is true, because to relate to self is to relate to the divine, to relate to the divinity in you. If you don't trust your own decisions, if you don't trust your own mind, if you don't trust your own heart, you're subject to trusting the wrong people. You're subject to getting sold a story. You're subject to con men, con women, whatever you want to talk about it. And consciousness, we didn't even read this. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all the multidimensional aspects that show up so that we can include them in our reality. So reality is the seen plus the unseen. And when we don't pay attention to ourselves and how we are feeling, if you walk into a room and you can feel the tension is off the charts, you do not need to know the details of what happened. You might want to know, because people tend to gossip and people are curious, and we have minds that want to know these things. And even from a protection point of view, you're kind of thinking, who are the players in this room? Because your body knows that there's something in here is dangerous. And how do I protect myself from that? Your body is your kind of almost your first line of defense. However, you can go down a rabbit hole with that, and you can get caught up in the gossip, and you can perpetuate it. So when you're coming to all group dynamics, within group dynamics, there's a one-to-one dynamic. So the first one-to-one dynamic is with yourself. You're like, who am I being? Who do I want to be? Am I living up to my virtues? Am I living up to my values? Do I know what those are? And when I interact with a group, I can't just hide behind the fact that, well, I don't know that person. I show up in all situations the same. I am me. And how does me show up? How do I show up? And when you're that kind of person, you're somebody who, and even if you're that kind of person and you're around people who don't do that, you can still get, you can still end up trusting the wrong people, by presuming that everybody else is like that. So you need to see the unseen. You need to know that when your body reacts in a certain way, that to pay attention. If you're having a certain emotion, get curious about it. Well, why am I feeling that way? There's a wound there that I need to heal. I'm hearing Maya Angelou. I did not put the wound there, but it is my responsibility to heal it. Because if you're not able to be in that stable place emotionally and mentally and feel good in your body, it's very difficult to make decisions from a good place, which means that you're manifesting from kind of an imbalanced or a wounded space. And then we all have lessons and wounds that we need to work on, and pretending that or so that we can include them in our reality. Telling ourselves that we're aware of something when we're choosing not to look at it is not the same as looking at it head on and making a decision and facing our pain or anger or whatever it is. Or that the circumstances that have come to us. I got fired, I got betrayed, I got cheated on. I cheated on somebody, something like that. Why do I do the things that I do? So your first line of integrity is with yourself and with spirit. And it's not a zero-sum game. And in order to get to that place, there needs to be a period of probably hermitude. So if you were born into, example, a family, let's say, that operates on, that is more social climbing, and it's more important what the neighbors think than telling the truth. And no family, to my knowledge, except for where it's, celebrated, like, I don't know, look at, the mafia. Those gangster movies, it's like, oh yeah, I won because they're afraid of me because, I'll shoot their brains out if they don't do what I say. Like, most normal families don't operate in a space where, like, yeah, I got one over on them or blah, blah, blah. Maybe they do. But my experience with families is that even when that delusion is going on, where that's what they're doing, and they're not doing their shadow work and they're not looking at it, they're telling themselves that they're doing it because they know better, or because they have a right to, because they experience some pain. I saw recently, actually, Shallon Lester, a few days ago, had posted some of Justin Bieber's messages, like text message exchange. Like, he posted them himself. He put them on the internet. And the way he was, like, he basically, to summarize, it was like, basically, I have trauma, therefore you should submit to my trauma. And it's like, no, I should heal my trauma. Everyone's agreed that, that man has been through some stuff. But nobody can heal that for him. He has to do that himself. And nobody can want that for him more than he can want it for himself. And I'm not here to cast judgment on him. And I also think that he needs to get his act together. So, just saying. So, well, let's pull some cards. You've got the Fool. You've got the King of Cups. Six of Cups. Oh my gosh, you're such a loving entity. You've got the Hanged Man. Pile number 2. 9 of Cups. Look at you. You're ushy, gushy, gooey, yummy, delicious. And it's back to, there's a phrase, I forget what it's called. The woman, the house where the woman cries I'm paraphrasing. The house where the woman cries will crumble, and the house where the woman smiles will flourish. You have been burdened with a lot of other people's nonsense. Queen of Pentacles, this came out in pile number 1 too. And the 7 of Swords. Okay, so you have been around a lot of deception. And that is really echoed with the Uttara Falguni. So you may have been, whether or not you grew up in a home where where everybody told the truth, and you apologized and you learned why you tell the truth, or not. if you didn't grow up in that environment, I still feel like you were someone who told the truth, but you were gaslit and you didn't realize that the people around you weren't telling the truth. You've been around a lot of deception. You've been around a lot of gaslighters. You may or may not have the power to accumulate wealth. I'm kind of getting this feeling that you were, I'm seeing the Matrix. You were a power source and other people kind of plugged into you to help themselves build up wealth. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all the multidimensional aspects that show up so that we can include them in our reality. From that, I'm really getting that your blind spot was your power, very much so. And I'm seeing the truth was being hidden, the truth of who you were was being hidden from you. And you had to learn how to focus focus your emotions, because I'm seeing a lot of water energy here, and your intuition. You needed to learn how to focus all that and have mastery over it. The King of Cups has mastery. Nine of Cups is wish fulfillment, so that you're not carrying the burdens of others and so that you can have the abundance. You may have been, we talked a little bit about hermitude. You, one way or another, you were living in opposite day for wherever it was. Maybe you ended up in an ABUSIVE relationship, and maybe somebody was, love bombed you and told you all these things and was future faking you, and you were like, what in the actual, what? But you're out of that. Whatever it is that you do, I'm getting very creative, playful energy for you. You're entering a new cycle. And you're very adventurous. Breathing. Ground. Feel sensations. Purity, clarity, expression. You could be somebody, pile number 2, who was, who dissociated a lot. You could have something like, and Virgo rules over it rules over the nervous system and the intestines. So I'm getting potential things like eating disorders, PTSD for you. So I feel like your body was impacted, your worldliness was impacted. So it could have affected your health, and maybe just by being so overburdened that you didn't have the space to be able to recognize the truth and to be able to really be conscious of who those people were around you. Your body was probably trying to tell you something, but I feel like you were gaslit. And you know how they say when you it's a horrible example, but when you're cooking crabs or lobster, you start off like at a very low temperature and you slowly turn the temperature up. So the first they go to sleep, and then slowly but slowly, and that's how ABUSEers work. They test you when they start, and then they see how far they will go, and then they'll push you a little bit more and push you a little bit more, and they'll always have an excuse. They have excuses. They don't ever come and say, no, I'm not a person who doesn't do this. They're like, well, I had to do it this time because, and I feel like you don't do that with yourself. Look, we've got breathe the sun again. We've got breathing twice. So I feel like you were cut off from your own kind of like source, from your own heart is the air energy. Pranayama, yoga, breathing. I feel like breath work would be really, really powerful for you. And I feel like you're somebody who probably dissociated a lot. And dissociation doesn't always mean that you're like, oh, off in la la land, that you're sitting there rocking in a chair and you're off somewhere else. It can be ruminating, it can be keeping busy, it can be just not sitting with those emotions. When you just sit there and breathe, it's possible that when you had the time to sit there and breathe, you may have experienced some health issues where like spirit was just like, Y'all are not going to slow down, so I'm going to knock you down. And in that space where all you could do was breathe, that maybe that's when the truth started to arise out of you. Presence, pineal, activation, relax, let go, ground, feel sensations, purity, clarity, expression. Breathing is so, so, so important for you. Heaven on earth, all are invited. Fifth dimension, new earth. Spirit in earth matter. I'm getting a really shamanistic vibe from you, pile number 2. I feel like, excuse me, I feel like that nature and the Fae are really good energies, and the elementals. If you haven't seen that movie Elemental, it is so beautiful, and it's definitely worth a watch. I really resonated with it, but water features very heavily. Water, you're my water pile. Look, she's in water here. There's not water here so much, but like clouds are water, and we've got the moon here in the background. You know, kind of dusk and sunset when the world is quiet might be really, really a beautiful time for you, pile number 1. You are, you're so loving. I'm just getting like really strong, creative, nurturing vibes from you. I'm getting really, really strong. If you don't have kids, or if you do have kids, I'm sure you're great with kids. I'm sure you're great with animals. I'm sure you, like, nature probably comes alive when you're in its presence. You just have this really, you exude happiness. You have this beautiful charge about you. And again, I'm hearing happy wife, happy life. So I'm getting real strong Parvati kind of energy from you. And it doesn't mean that, like, I'm not seeing, like, you know, marry rich. It's not that kind of vibe that I just want to sit there and be a lady who lunches. I think that you want to build a home. You want to build a community. You want to have your hands in the dirt. You want to have, you know, your feet on the ground. You want to play with the kids. You wanna, you know, you wanna raise your own vibration and the vibration of your community. You wanna share your thoughts, feelings with the people with whom you feel connected to, and you want to connect. People want to connect to you, but I feel like they could be intimidated by your ability to be so vulnerable, to be so emotional. And by emotional, I don't mean that you're histrionic or that you're bawling, crying, or roaring, laughing the whole time, and that you're up and down and you're whatever. You know how to direct that emotional energy into your life, into your aura, into your whatever. And when you are, I'm getting again with breathing here, and I'm, you know, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So you may have been someone who felt completely unsupported. And with Uttara Falguni, actually, I was watching this thing. I don't know why I'm being called to share this with you, but Agatha Christie, you know, the mystery writer. Well, apparently she has Uttara Falguni, moon and sun. And this is card number 12. But the thing about her is her mother didn't want her to learn to read till she was 8. But she didn't like that. So at 5, she taught herself how to read. And very much Uttara Falguni is a builder energy. So I'm getting Knight of Pentacles or Page of Pentacles to King of Pentacles, and you've got the Queen here. You've got that building is healing for you, and heal thyself. So you've had to build and heal thyself first, and what you've had to build first and foremost is yourself. You've had to rebuild yourself. But anyway, back to Agatha Christie. Her mother warned her. She was very close to her mother, but she taught herself to read. And then when the war started, her mother suggested that she not marry the guy who she wanted to marry. He looks like he's going to not be a good husband. And she did marry him, trust the wrong person, and he did cheat on her. At some point, they had a child, and when the child was about 5 years old and she was already a writer, she drove off one day and her car was found abandoned in England, and it looked like she had driven off the road. What's so crazy about this is she wrote 3 letters. The police looked for her. They didn't know where she was. Apparently there was a nationwide search for her. Something like 10 to 20,000 people were looking for her. But she had written 3 letters. One to her brother-in-law that said, I'm going to a spa, I think in Newcastle, for some respite. And she had left her, like she kissed her daughter goodbye, who was 5, I think, drove off, and the car was found abandoned. She wrote a letter to her secretary with, I think her itinerary on it, or her schedule on it or something. And she wrote a letter to her ex-husband. And the letter to the ex-husband was never found. He was saying to the police, oh yeah, there was nothing worthy in that, so, whatever. And then the one to the brother-in-law said that she was going to this spa. So they're looking around the country for her, and I think they might have even had aerial search for her. And I mean, this is back in the day when planes were just starting, because she was a well-known person at that stage. But turns out that somebody at this spa in Newcastle was playing, I think somebody in the band kind of looked over at this woman dancing the Charleston and was saying, oh gosh, I think, that woman's kind of familiar. Turns out it was her. She'd been missing for 12 days. And she didn't check in under her own name. She checked in under a pseudonym, but the second name she chose was the name of her husband's mistress. And also, it's just because she was Uttara Falguni, sun and moon, like it was like her body kind of took care of her and brought her to a place of respite where she needed to be. But there was a disconnection. So we're back to the power, the idea that somebody could be trusted but could be mistrusting. The other thing was her first novel that was published, her sister bet her that she that she couldn't write a short story, and she wrote one to spite her sister, and then she ended up getting it published, and then the publisher signed her up to write 5 more novels, and that was the start of one of the world's most famous mystery writers that we know. So she walked by faith and not by sight, but her body was very, very instrumental in kind of taking care of her, even when she lost kind of her, I want to say, her connection to her ego a little bit. The limited mind that we know. So I don't know why I'm sharing that with you. There was mystery around it, I guess the unseen, and then she became a mystery writer. Having Uttara Falguni in her sun and her moon, she had it on her feminine and her masculine side, but it was also embodied on kind of who she was. Her rising was Maga as well. So there's an overcoming of some... Maga's like Beauty and the Beast, is the beast overcoming its nature. So she ended up then marrying somebody who did, was not that kind of person to her. So I'm just going to leave it there, pile number 2. You have beautiful energy. The energies that you're leaving behind, to be honest, are toxic positivity, delulu. Not saying that you're the delulu, but being taken in by confusion, by gaslighting. You're very solid in your own intuition now, and from that, your the wealth that you build, you will be able to. And I'm talking about your health, your relationships. You'll be able to hang on to in a way that maybe you weren't able to hang on to it before. That other people were able to prey on you in a way that they won't be able to prey on you going forward. So you're still a builder. You're still beautiful. You're still a soul in a human body. You're still breathing. Keep breathing. Keep that beautiful energy that, oh my gosh, you're just like this I'm just getting this loving mother energy from you, but also I can see there's also that very feminine wife partnership energy about you, whether you decide, whether you're male or female. So what I'm talking about is not just, kind of the mother-child relationship, or, that you have to nourish everyone mother's milk. I'm also seeing it as being kind of divine partnership as well for you. So Queen of Pentacles, you are absolutely going to find your King of Pentacles, whether you're male or female. Divine partnership is absolutely open to you. If that's something that you choose. If not, maybe you partner with spirit. Maybe you do, kind of live in a cabin in the woods by yourself and you just commune with nature, or you Shiva it out up on a mountain and in a cave and just, practice your cities or whatever it is. In any case, if anything that I said has interested you or resonated with you, I would love it if you would like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pile number 2. And your energy is just so loving and so beautiful. Keep the faith and enjoy this next phase, because it's beyond what anyone can conceive for you, especially yourself. So, with that being said, I'm going to get into pile number 3. So, pile number 3, you had Uttara Ashada, Sun energy, Sagittarian, Sagittarius and Capricorn. So that is Sun in Jupiter and Sun in Saturn. Gorgeous. So, and you've got divine mastical. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, pile number 3. Divine masculine. So we've had blue in all 3 piles. So truth is very, the age, I'm feeling very much the age of delusion is over. And we know we're moving from the age of Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune. And Neptune makes very often puts rose-colored glasses, likes to look at things in a less realistic way and present them in a, sugar-coated way. Sometimes to our detriment. So I feel like for you, pile number 3, that you've really, with Uttara Ashada, you've got the symbol here of the elephant and the elephant's tusks, and it's the power of unchallengeable victory. I'm having a really hard time speaking in this pile, and this wasn't true for piles number 1 and 2 to the same degree, at least, I hope. But what I'm feeling for you, pile number 3, is that you have maybe been silenced and blocked a lot, and you had to find your divine masculine. You really had to overcome a lot of challenges to be able to speak your truth. And your truth is not some made-up narrative. It's being able to speak about your experiences and tell the whole truth in your way, with the intention of being truthful. You can share facts with the intention of misleading, with the intention of deception, and that is absolutely not you. I'm getting a very truthful, matter of fact, and we've got Saturnian here. I'm sure if you told lies, and we've got Jupiter energy here, which is expansion, and Saturnian, they're both masculine energies, and we've got divine masculine here. In order to be able to stand in truth requires the courage of your convictions. It requires strength. It requires a strong solar plexus. and to be able to act on that truth, and to have people lie on your name, to scapegoat you, to smear campaign you, that requires some BALLS. Whether you're male or female, I feel like this group has had to really bring their divine masculine, their masculine energies online very strongly. And whatever it is that you have experienced in this life, pile number 3, I'm feeling it has, I'm getting wounded warrior for you. I'm getting a lot of battles. I'm getting battle weary for you. I'm getting that you've been beat up and lied on, and just not getting props for the leadership that you have demonstrated but have not been given credit for, is the way I would put it. So Uttara Ashada, the kind of themes around this nakshatra are war, victory, conquest, and mastery. And loosely, I guess, translated, the nakshatra sutra would be like the perceivers of everything need to engage in conquest to achieve victory. So what does that kind of mean? True mastery. Sometimes we need to stand up and fight. Sometimes we need to stand up and fight for what's right. Sometimes we need to stand up and fight for our own good name. Sometimes we need to stand up and fight for integrity. Sometimes we need to stand up and fight for truth, for those who are dependent on us, like minor children and, that kind of thing. Not for people playing the victim. People playing the victim can learn how to stand up for themselves, in my opinion. It's really giving teachings of the ascended masters. It's giving, Jesus in the temples overturning calling out the Pharisees, and calling out the people who do things from social climbing, reputational status, rather than having a heart-centered, this is who I want to be in the world. I heard someone say once that self-esteem is the reputation that we hold with ourselves. So if you're not willing to do it behind closed doors, as if you're only doing it to get kudos and to get accolades from it, it's not really like people doing good things for the wrong reasons and people doing wrong things for the good reasons. I'm hearing that song by Katie Melua, and I quote it a lot. It's Spiderweb. If a black man is racist, is it okay if a white man's racism that made him that way? Because the bully's the victim, they say, from some sense they're all the same. Because the line between black and white is the width of a thread of a spider's web. And it depends on the energy that you're approaching something with. Are you in harmony with your values? Are you in harmony with spirit? Are you in harmony with the divine plan? And you might have come to the conclusion that, some people, I'm definitely getting that you guys have been, you're very powerful. We're getting that straight away from the elephant. You're also, this is fixed and balanced as well. So that immovability, Capricorn is, even though Capricorn it's a cardinal sign, and Sagittarius is a mutable sign, there's still those two together. Like, you have flexibility, which you've had to have, and I'm seeing it more like a sapling. Rigidity versus something that can snap. Like when the ice cracks, like water versus ice. So, on the top of when the lake freezes over, if the ice cracks and you go down and you get caught under it, then that's a problem. But if the water you can flow with, but the ice is rigid and it can snap. And things that are supple will bend more easily than things that are arid, that are dry. Like a dry twig will snap and it will catch fire very easily, but a wet sapling won't. So it's more resistance to that kind of destruction. I don't know why I'm even bringing that up, but anyway, that's kind of the energies that we're talking about. I'm getting really strong, actually, speaking of war and victory and conquest and doing the right thing and when to fight. And then in that song, it's always I'm hearing the Pink Floyd song, "The General Sat and the lines on the map move from side to side." Something about, I hope he knows when he's, how do I know which is wrong and which is right? I hope he knows when he sends you to fight. That's from Spiderwebs as well. So I'm getting Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Krishna and Arjuna are in the chariot, and Krishna is beside himself because he does not want to fight his family. But Krishna is, he is blue. But he's also the avatar of the God, and Bhagavad Gita itself means song of God, and he is Krishna's partner, our advisor in the chariot, and Krishna is telling him, you have to do your this is your dharma. This is spiritually sanctioned. This is the action that is required. So the frequency of the divine masculine supports our strong, focused, active side, allowing it to express itself while helping us to bring our dreams and ideas into form with kindness and wisdom. So it's not about just getting into the ring and, kind of pummeling your opponent. It is about, or an elephant stampede. Like, we impacted their environment and then they sometimes stampede. So it's about bringing mastery. Mastery of what? Mastery of intelligence and intuition. Mastery of the masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. Mastery of self. The latter invincible. He who knows himself knows that this life is impermanent. Knows that even if all is destroyed, he can rebuild. And if he rebuilds with the divine and it goes, it's divinely, he is an architect of, or she is an architect of that also. So it's also about kind of the recognizing that impermanence, but also the path to unity. So I feel like what energies you are being emancipated from, liberating from, is that kind of like survival of the fittest or zero-sum game mentality. You're learning about a rising tide raises all boats. You're learning about having victory over what matters and letting go what does not matter. And I heard a reading recently that was talking about a guy who goes to a king with a lot of a really, really I don't know if you know this story, but I had never heard it before, but it was a really, really strong spiritual young'un who kind of was outpacing all of his teachers. And there was this king that had all this worldly stuff, and the king was entrusted to teach the kid something, and he was like, well, show me what you got. And he kind of had this spiritual arrogance about him, this young'un, where he was kind of I don't know, so much looking down on the king to kind of think, well, you know, if I'm spiritually there, then I'm going to have the abundance that follows. And I'm hearing that phrase, toxic positivity again. Just think positive, just put it on your vision board and you'll manifest whatever, abracadabra. But this king, he was with the youngin, and everything burned. The kingdom went on fire. All the gold was melting. Everything was just burning to the ground. But he didn't do anything. And the youngin was like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And the king just did nothing. He just sat there. And the lesson was that the king recognized that all of this was impermanent, and that it didn't matter if all the worldly stuff burned to the ground, because he could rebuild it again, because he understood not just the gold and the silver and the dollars in the bank. He understood the full picture. And I feel like that you're learning, that you have learned, you have mastered when to fight, when to challenge, and how to challenge. Because strategy and knowing we're in a limited experience as a human in a soul, but yet we can plug into the infinite. So knowing when and how to apply that is very, very important. And I feel like you've really, really learned that. And it's kind of like the journey from, I'm seeing the journey from kind of Mars, which is the rudimentary sun, to the sun, which is masculine as well, to Jupiter. And Jupiter is a masculine energy that signifies higher learning. But in order to have that power and expansion, you also need to have discipline. And you also need to have the ability to self-constrain. If you are relying, you know, if you can't be trusted with that level of power, ultimately, if you cannot use it wisely. So I've got the Page of Pentacles out for you, pile number 1. Ace of Wands, wow. Pile number 3, I'm sorry. Barney energy. 4 of Wands. I'm not surprised this came out. 9 of Wands. 5 of Cups. 9 of Pentacles. 2 of Wands. Lots of Wands energy here. Hierophant. Beautiful. And 6 of Swords. So, very much so, you're moving away from being led by any form of attachment, by being led from any form of outcome. You're being led by your heart. I'm seeing a lot of yellow here for the solar plexus. You're moving away to calmer waters, from this choppy waters to calmer waters. And you're the calmer waters. I don't think that like you're going from tempestuous life to beautiful, forever, never having a challenge again. It's just that now, no matter what happens, you're going to show up as a benevolent leader, as a wise leader. You've got the Hierophant. You walk by faith and not by sight. You're in constant connection with your higher self and with spirit. The burdens that you are carrying, you know, are temporary. And you also have celebration around, there's a starter energy for you. Like, you have an understanding of the cycles. Your willingness to, like, I'm just seeing you, like, build for the sake of, that's the cycle that you're in. You understand that, like, when you can't do everything all at once. So you're just this adventurous. He's got the world in his hands. He's looking out. He's got this sense of adventure. And you are working with the divine to bring in new cycles. I see you as being incredibly resourceful and having a sense of adventure and starting new things. So I don't know if there's one core thing that you build off of. The one thing that you have built for absolute sure is yourself. Your center of gravity is around truth. You have the discipline to wield that power, to face. You have faced so many challenges, but you understand the temporariness of cycles of life. Like, I'm getting the idea of like many lives in one. So let's say, for example, maybe you were somebody who, I'm just using this as an example, but somebody who like had a very, kind of certain kind of lifestyle in the earlier stages of their adult. You have your childhood, then you have a certain level of something in your earlier lives. Then maybe you get married and have a family. Then maybe you do, then maybe you join a monastery or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm seeing different versions of, or maybe it's like you have a bunch of different careers because one kind of segues into another, or maybe you just completely do 180s. But I'm seeing a lot of cycles for you, pile number 3. It's really, really beautiful. Oh, you've got flow because you're with spirit. Release, control, divine will, oceanic consciousness. Expression. An expression, you're doing in the world is an expression because you are so plugged into who you are. Initiation. I'm seeing this next, what you're leaving behind is a fear of trying new things, a fear of adventure, a fear of, I think that you may have tried a lot of things in the past, and maybe it's possible, for some of you anyway, it's possible that they didn't quite take root and they didn't flourish. And it's not that they weren't meant to, it's just that your part of your lesson was to learn that winning the battle is not winning the war. And the war is you ascending with spirit. And in the long term, I'm just seeing like, there's a inner child attunement. You might have had to tend to your inner child before you could, it was safe to allow things to grow. Or maybe when you put things out in the world, you just didn't nurture that, you didn't stay with them long enough for them to take. Or maybe you kind of launched a bunch of things and they're all going to flourish at once. I'm hearing that there's a Chinese, I think it's a Chinese parable where the guy he plants some bamboo and the neighbors are like, what you doing? And he's watering the ground. And he's like, well, I'm growing bamboo, I'm planting my bamboo. And this goes on for 5 years, and the neighbors think he's delulu because like he's watering this patch of earth that like has nothing come up. But after 5 years, the bamboo does break ground. And it grows in 6 weeks or 5 weeks, 90 feet. And I'm seeing that for you. Like a lot of what you were doing in this last was pouring into the foundation, was building into the foundation. And if you've ever been in a city where you see them building, they spend so long on the foundation, and then all of a sudden it feels like the building goes up in like a week or in a few weeks. Relative, like the building site will be there for a year, but the actual edifice on top of the foundation goes up really, really, really quickly. So I'm seeing that for you, pile number 3. I'm going to leave it there. What you're leaving behind is, this kind of wounded warrior battle weariness. You're going into and disappointment and grief. You're going into more of an adventurous, where you'll see the fruits of your labor manifest more in the way that you would expect it, because the foundation is there now. You have built and watered and tended to your foundation, and your foundation is you. Your foundation is your connection with the divine. Your foundation is creativity. I'm seeing a lot of creativity and intuition. We've got a lot of water here for you, and you're tuned in with your inner child, and this beautiful harmonization of your masculine and feminine energies. So I'm going to leave it there, pile number 3. If anything that I said has resonated with you, I'd love it if you would like, comment, share, or subscribe. And I hope to see you at another reading. So have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever you are. Bye.